Morning, welcome. It's Muppet saying, making herself known. So it's not so sunny this morning, which makes it much easier for me to set myself up so you can see me. Sorry, just looking up the sky through my conservatory ceiling. Yeah, it's a bit overcast today, but the sky is still blue. I can still see it blue above. The clouds are moving briskly. This morning, I'm coming back to something I wrote about on Facebook and then shared to my blog on my website yesterday. And you may or may not have seen it, but I was talking about how touched I was by, hi Helen, by simply standing looking at a holly tree on one of my walks the other day. I've mentioned this before that I have a dog. I've had a dog for 13 years. I've been walking pretty much daily for a long time, but there's something about my walks, as I know so many people are finding at the moment, that is very different. There's a different quality to them. I have a completely different sense of how important they are. Excuse me. Of how deeply that connection to nature and to being out in the world, in the natural world, how profoundly that affects me. And I've said before, I am incredibly lucky to live where I live, to be able to walk in open countryside. And it feels like that renewed awareness of the importance of getting out in nature to my soul. Good morning, Bradley. Sorry, crumb from breakfast making itself known. Yeah, there's a deeper sense of awareness of the importance to me, the necessity for me to get into nature on a regular basis. And when I was walking just recently, I walked past a holly tree and a particularly narrow path. So I walked, there was definitely no social distancing going on between me and this holly tree. And I suddenly noticed the new leaves. And I have seen these before, but there's something about them just really struck me yesterday. And you may have read the blog already, or the post, and if you haven't, you can do so later. So I'm not going to go through everything I said then. But there was something about the intense vulnerability. Young holly leaves at this time of year are as soft and as bright green and as tender as the leaves of a beech tree or anything else, any other new young shoot. And it's only as they get older that they start building up these layers. And it's almost as if they're varnished. They get layer upon layer, they get darker, they get harder, they get tougher. Until, you're not going to mess with holly leaves. They're certainly strong enough, if you're not careful, to prick a human finger hard enough to make it bleed. And they're certainly strong enough to stop most animals from munching on them. But another thing I discovered when I was looking them up, because when this came back to mind, I then started doing a little bit of research, and I hadn't realised that it's the younger leaves, the younger trees that are particularly prickly, and as they get older, their leaves tend to be less prickly, less sharp. And also, as you get to the top of the tree, the leaves can be completely smooth on the edges. And it just really resonated with me about what happens to us. We start out in our hearts. Our hearts are completely open. When we're little children, we say what we think. We cry when we're unhappy. We laugh when we're happy. And obviously there are times when that can result in things that are perceived by our culture as being inappropriate. So we get told that we shouldn't do that in that situation. And we start gradually building up these layers, varnishing, toughening up, developing spikes, until there comes a time when, for many of us, that tender green shoot is so thoroughly protected by the shiny, spiky leaves around that we just don't let anyone in. Here comes the sun. And for me, I mean, I must have stood and looked at these leaves for a good 10 or 15 minutes. And it just spoke to me. And it's funny how something like that can have an actual effect. It feels like it opens something else up inside me. That's happening a lot. This process of coming and meeting with you on a daily basis is opening things up inside me. It's moving, it's shifting, it's changing for me. It feels like a privilege to have the opportunity to do this, so thank you for keeping me here. So, yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit more about quite how profoundly that awareness of those little holly leaves had affected me. And to suggest that maybe this morning or today, whenever you're watching, you might choose to connect into that little tender green shoot in your heart. And maybe it's not a holly tree for you, maybe there's another image that works for you. But whatever it is, that little vulnerable, tender, loving, unconditionally loving part of you that still exists deep inside, that you may or may not find it easy to connect with. I invite you to join me today in giving it permission just to be. So as always, however you're sitting, take a moment to connect into the ground, to letting whichever parts of you are resting down onto the ground or onto the support beneath you, truly connect and engage. Feel that sense of connection to the earth beneath. And as we let gravity rest us down into the ground, maybe starting to find that sense of lifting away, of rising up away from the ground. Maybe the spine seems to feel a little bit looser, a little bit freer, a little bit more space between the vertebrae, so that your head can simply rest on your spine, not having to be held. And check in with your features, the features on your face, your eyes, your cheeks, your lips, your tongue, your jaw. Can they be soft, not held? Just being. And let your shoulders release a little and bring your hands to wherever is comfortable for you. And if you haven't already done so, let your eyes gently close or simply rest downwards with a soft focus. And let the breath come and go easily and gently, however it needs to. And if for you right now that's not easily and gently, that's fine. Just watch how your breath is moving. Don't try and change it. Don't try and breathe in any particular way. Just notice what is. And in your own time, let your awareness rest from the busyness of your head and your thoughts down through your body. Maybe bringing that sense of busyness with it as everything rests and softens. Let's go. Giving it permission just for now to be still until your awareness, your sense of activity can maybe come to rest in your heart center. That space inside your body, in the middle of your body, at chest height, at heart height. Energy center is so much more than our physical heart. And maybe there's a sense for you of something small, tender, vulnerable in the middle of that space. Something that's shielded, protected. And yet at the same time is bigger and stronger and more all-encompassing than anything else that goes to make up what is you. And simply rest your mind, your awareness in that heart center. Whether my words have resonated or not. Just watch the breath coming and going. And when your mind goes off, distracted, just notice where it went. And gently, kindly, bring it back to your breath, coming into your body, to your heart center. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. As always, I invite you to stay with this silence if it's helping you, and if you're not yet ready to come back, or to move into the rest of your day. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.